I'll say this. I think that what we are seeing is a situation where, you know, our democracy in many ways is being challenged, if you will. Our republic is being challenged. The way I think of it is this. Our republic, our democracy, I think stands on certain pillars. And if you want to think of it as a table with the legs, there are the three independent co-equal branches of government. So there's the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And then the fourth is a free and independent press. And systematically, there have been charges, and I think an attempt to dismantle these pillars upon which we stand. And thankfully, what is happening is it is proving the founders of our country right with the beautiful design we created with these three co-equal branches and a free and independent press, that it is those pillars, that are holding the executive accountable. Even when you are called the lying press, even when we talk about so-called judges, even when there are attempts to discredit the legislative branch. And by the way, the theme on all of this is about, again, a very essential point: the freedom to just be oneself. Let people be. At the heart of it, isn't that the point also? You're not harming anyone else. Let people be. Let them exercise their rights that are the attributes of a democracy, by the way. Because, Jen, I do think about it in a way that is about full-on attacks on foundational principles about who we are as a country, and therefore our democracy. When I travel our country, and I'll tell you something, they may not talk about it using the term democracy, but they understand the importance of freedom, of liberty, of human rights. You talk about freedoms, and by the way, there is a full-on attack by some against hard-won, hard-fought freedoms in our country. The freedom to make decisions about one's own body. The freedom to love who you love with pride and openly. So we are all here together because we love our country. We love our country. And I was talking with some folks recently about the importance of understanding the duality, frankly, that exists in terms of our democracy. You know, as your vice president, I've now met over 150 world leaders, presidents, prime ministers, chancellors, and kings. And when we, representing the United States, walk in those rooms, traditionally we've been able to walk in those rooms, chin up, shoulders back, with the earned and self-appointed authority to talk about the importance of democracies, rule of law. But I say to a room of role models, here's the thing about being a role model. When you're a role model, folks watch what you do to see if it matches up to what you say. And I tell you, because I have traveled the country recently, including the many, many trips that I've taken over the last almost 4 years, but recently, in particular, where world leaders, allies, have come up to me. We're now on a first-name basis. I've met with so many of them so many times. And they have said to me, Kamala, I hope you guys are going to be okay. One of the things that I think about and weighs on me sometimes is I hope we as Americans really understand how important we are to the world. We are so important to the world. Those people who fight for democracy, who fight for freedom, who fight for a life in which they can have opportunity, they hold us up and they hold us out as a model. And that, as much as anything, is at stake right now in this election. I have, as vice president, met over 150 world leaders, presidents, prime ministers, chancellors, and kings. My most recent overseas trips as vice president, which were relatively close to then the election, our allies have expressed real concern. I've shared this before, but you know, when we walk in a room representing the United States of America, We should walk in that room, especially leaders, chin up, shoulders back, knowing that we have the self-appointed and earned authority to talk about the importance of democracy and rule of law. But the thing about being a role model, this is all role models who are here. People watch what you do to see if it matches up to what you say. People around the world are watching this election, I promise you. And my one fear I have is I hope and I pray that we, the American people, understand not only what is at stake for us in this election, but how much we mean to the rest of the world. There is so much at stake in this election. You know, the nature of a democracy is such that I think there's a duality. On the one hand, there's an incredible strength when our democracy is intact. An incredible strength in what it does to protect the freedoms and rights of its people. Oh, there's great strength in that. And it is very fragile. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. And so that's the moment we're in. And I say do not despair, because in a democracy, as long as we can keep it in our democracy, the people, every individual has the power to make a decision about what this will be. And so let's not feel powerless. Let's not let and I get it, overwhelming nature of this all, make us feel powerless, because then we have been defeated. And that's not our character as the American people. We are not one to be defeated. We rise to a moment, and we stand on broad shoulders of people who have fought this fight before for our country. And in many ways, let us look at the challenge then that we are being presented and not be overwhelmed by it. The baton is now in our hands to fight for, not against, but for this country we love. That's what we have the power to do. So let's own that. Dare I say, be joyful in what we will do in the process of owning that, which is knowing that we can and will build community and coalitions and remind people that we're all in this together. Let's not let the overwhelming nature of this strip us of our strength. That's how I feel about this.